Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing to you Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3 for the Game Boy Advance, though you're seeing footage based on the Wii U Virtual Console version, which has a couple of neat features that I'll get to in a minute. For the moment, this is more or less a remake of Super Mario Bros. 3, along with a remake of Mario Bros. So, why isn't it just called Super Mario Advance 4 or Super Mario Collection? Because every Super Mario Advance game has Mario Brothers in it, so what specifically makes them the Super Mario Advance series if they're all remaking one game even though they're actually remaking two? Very bizarre wording choices. Not only that, but Super Mario World actually came before this game, so why is that an earlier Super Mario Advance? So let's get over the main changes that this game has over Super Mario Bros. 3, as some of you might be purists and think, well, Paul, why don't I just get the original Super Mario Bros. 3? You can get that pretty much anywhere. And while that's true, this Game Boy Advance port features updated graphics that look closer to the Super Mario All-Star style. It has voice acting, which can actually get kind of annoying, but it's a neat touch nonetheless, albeit I wish Nintendo would have tried it with better hardware. And there's additional levels that you can get by scanning e-reader cards. However, since this is on the Virtual Console, the Wii U doesn't have an e-reader. It does have amiibos, but I guess that was too hard to program for an existing game. So they just decided, let's just give you a preset save file that has all of the additional e-reader content already available on its own file, known as World E. That is brilliant! I wish Nintendo would take this much effort for their other ports like this to just include content. In fact, this is actually the only official way to play a lot of the Japan-only e-reader content because most of the special levels were not localized for the American market. So you're getting every possible way you can play Super Mario Bros. 3 here. So I might say that this is the definitive version so far. However, apart from the e-reader content, the voice acting, and the updated graphics, musics, and sound effects, there's not really a whole lot that differentiates this from simply being a handheld equivalent of Super Mario Bros. 3. More or less, it's the same game with all its flaws and all. They don't really do a whole lot to try to fix the game or make improvements, probably because they figured so many people think Super Mario Bros. 3 is an untouchable masterpiece and you just can't mess with perfection. Well, I have a couple of gripes. For starters, Super Mario Bros. 3 absolutely refuses to have any checkpoints, which is bizarre because the previous Mario games up to this point had all had checkpoints, and even Super Mario World had checkpoints. And since this port came after Super Mario World was ported, why didn't Nintendo incorporate the checkpoint system from Super Mario World into this, especially if they were going to include the Cape Feather from Super Mario World anyway, so they could have just reused the assets. I don't know, these levels feel super long and drawn out, and maybe if they were short and sweet, that would be one thing, but some of the levels have maze-like structures and really long and involved puzzles, and they don't feel conducive to a do-it-in-one try. Not only that, but the hit detection tends to be a bit on the finicky side, and Mario tends to panic with just about everything. Although one thing I like that's slightly better than playing Super Mario World is that Mario actually only decreases his power state when he gets hit by an enemy rather than completely reverting to small Mario. So in case you're having trouble visualizing that, if you have a fire flower and you get hit, then you revert back to Super Mario. Then, if you get hit while being Super Mario, you get to be Little Mario again. This game is pretty tough though, so don't expect that powered up state to last forever. While the game tries to offset its brutal difficulty by giving you lots of mini-games and extra goodies on the world map to try to offset it, I still find that a lot of people are just going to keep trying over and over again and then end up getting a game over. At least the Game Boy Advance port lets you save your progress. You don't have to start the entire game over again like you did on the NES version. And on the Wii U Virtual Console version, you can save anywhere. So if you want, you can create your own checkpoint system, even if you can't rewind like you can on Nintendo Switch Online. Overall, Super Mario Bros. 3 is Obviously, opinions are going to differ depending on when you got into 2D Mario. I personally find Super Mario World and the new Super Mario Bros. Games better than this, but one thing I will praise the developers for is their sense of ambition. This was the first Mario game to have a full world map with actual secrets, places to explore, and made it almost feel like the world map was a level in itself. While it's not this huge, over-connected world like Super Mario World was, the individual worlds themselves do a nice job of feeling like miniature puzzles, and there are even warp whistles that let you skip them if you don't like them. There's also a lot of really cool level ideas, some of which only show up once or twice, and it's really cool that Nintendo is willing to go above and beyond the bare minimal requirements of, say, the original Super Mario Bros., which was just ground, forest, underwater. Okay, it wasn't a forest, but you get what I'm trying to say. In Super Mario Bros. 3, you've got some levels where everything is huge and Mario is tiny, or you can play on a level where pretty much everything is a muncher. Not all of these are winners, especially some of the castles and fortresses really started bothering me with how long they dragged on. But at the very least, this was so ambitious that Nintendo actually had to build extra batteries within the NES cartridge so that they could fit all of this. Especially when Mario took to the sky with the Tanuki leaf. That was just mind-blowing. There's a lot of power-ups in this game, but too many of them I feel like are either reserved for the world map or are simply too hard to get. If they were more readily available, I think I'd forgive the game more. However, due to the punishing system and the fact that if you make a mistake, you lose the item, and unless you did a save state, you're pretty much going to have to restart to get that progress back, I don't think the extra innovation in the items department paid off here. Overall, my thoughts on Super Mario Bros. 3 are, it's okay. The port doesn't really do much to fix its issues, except for the Wii U Virtual Console version's ability to save at any point. But even with the slightly improved save system on the Game Boy Advance, I still don't think it's worthy enough to double dip unless you're already a fan of Super Mario Bros. 3 and want to see it get better. Thankfully, there is another game on the cart. The second game on our collection is a remake of Mario Brothers, which should surprise no one if you've played any of the other Super Mario Advance titles or Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. So I guess you could say this is one of Nintendo's most overblown remakes ever at this point. The premise of Mario Brothers is extremely simple. Basically, you jump on these platforms underground and try to knock over the enemies coming out of the overhead pipes, and then jump on them or kick them after the enemies are weakened to send them soaring into the water. There's also 2 POW blocks on the top and bottom of the stage that you can hit 3 times each, and they only refill every couple of levels to immediately send a shockwave to every enemy. Now, the original Mario Brothers was notoriously hard to control, and probably turned off a lot of people from giving it a try, and in some cases maybe people even thought that Mario started with Super Mario Brothers because the controls were so awful. However, I think the developers of this GBA remake must have realized how much of a success Super Mario Bros. Was in reinventing the platformer genre, so they incorporated the ability to change Mario's direction mid-air, which makes this significantly more fun to play. They also replaced all of the sidestepper enemies, otherwise known as the precursors to the Koopas, with Spinies, which hurt Mario if he tries to jump on them. I think that was also the case in the original Mario Brothers, but I haven't played that in a while, so don't quote me on that. They also have a couple of new enemies, although I personally didn't get far enough in Mario Brothers to know the difference. There's also the Beatles, not sure what their official name is, that jump every now and then, so you have to carefully make sure that when you jump under them, you hit it when they're actually on the ground. There's also freezies, which slide along the stage, and if you don't quickly break them from underneath, they'll make an entire section of the stage icy. And then there's these crabs, which are known as sidesteppers, which you have to hit them twice in order to defeat them. However, when they're hit a second time, you'll have to watch out for their angry eyebrows. Wow, people sure love to get angry a lot. I wish people would just calm down. The problem with this remake isn't so much the execution, but more so the lack of trying after you get far enough. There are 99 phases altogether, but after you get to the snowy section, when the background turns into like a log cabin of sorts, then the game kind of just runs out of ideas and you just repeat the same scenarios over and over again with faster enemies, harder to predict patterns, the same old music. It starts out pretty cool, where you keep gradually being introduced to new enemies and new settings, but then eventually, I guess Nintendo themselves realized, yeah, who in their right mind besides Paul is going to play Mario Brothers all the way to phase 99? Let's try to send a message. Well, I am terrible at reading subliminal messages, Nintendo, so you epically failed on that front. Overall, I would say that Mario Brothers on the Game Boy Advance is definitely a worthy remake of an arcade game that wasn't exactly spectacular, but the fact that there isn't really a standalone release for this makes it difficult to say whether or not it's worth buying or renting or anything like that. I certainly wouldn't recommend that you get any of the Super Mario Advance games just to play Mario Brothers, but instead I would see this as a nice added bonus. So, play it for a little bit, but don't go all the way to 99 phases like yours truly did. I wanted to see if this game truly got any better. I was wrong. I hope you guys learned from my mistakes. Well, with that, I think I've covered Super Mario Bros. 3 and Mario Brothers both sufficiently on this GBA port. I would say that this version of Super Mario Bros. 3 is decent, but it doesn't really do much to appeal to people that don't already like Super Mario Bros. 3. Unless you really want to see those e-reader levels, in which case I'd say, yeah, heck yeah, absolutely go for it. If you're looking for this, for the vanilla Super Mario Bros. 3 experience, I think you're better off just downloading the NES version. While there might be glaring differences that I've missed over, like, I don't know, maybe the physics have changed, or there's also the fact that the NES version had a multiplayer mode where you also played a remix of Mario Brothers. Maybe that's where Nintendo got the idea from. Overall, it's basically just a prettier version, with not much added that would make this the definitive experience. With that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know if there's anything I missed at all, if there's something you'd like me to clear up. If you totally disagree with my opinions, please let me know in the comments. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and Nintendo, if you're going to release a remake of something, make it a standalone game. Don't let it take up resources for existing ports. Bye.